I am so happy to be doing this video. I have been anxious to do this video for such a long time because endometriosis is something that I have struggled with for 2.5 years now. And I touched on this, I think, was it last year? I did a video where I told you all that my hair was breaking and I was also going through endometriosis. I touched on it a little bit and I just told you all that I healed from it, but I didn't explain what had happened, the journey, and how I healed from it. And so this video, that's what I'm going to talk about, because while you're trying to grow your hair out or live a healthy life, if something is wrong in one part of the body, it's going to affect every other part of the body. And so I have been that girl who was bleeding every single day, going through huge heavy blood clots, using like 5 or 6 pads a day, buying pads every single week. So I understand the struggle, and I'm so happy that I could do this video to help you all out, because I could not believe that there were so many women around the world that's actually going through this. Like, I have to say, women have done a good job in disguising pain, because men don't even understand half of the things that we go through, okay? Half of the pain that we deal with on a regular basis. So I'm really happy to do this video. I'm also happy because, for one, all my damaged hair is gone. If you have been following me on TikTok, which I'll leave my TikTok profile name on the screen, if you have been watching my short videos on this channel, you know that all my damaged hair is gone. So 2026, I'm starting it off on a new clean slate. I have been in my wilderness season for the past 2 years, okay? I've been in a place of wilderness, all right? And I feel like 2026, I am out of that wilderness and things are just getting better, and I'm just in a better, happy place. I don't know if you guys could tell, but yes, that's what's going on with me. So let's get into this video. I'll just give you a little bit of a background. I'm not going to bore you, but this video might be long. So yeah, make sure you get a cup of coffee, get some cookies, get something nice to eat, and hear my story. So growing up, I started my period at the age of 11, and I wasn't really taught on why we get our periods, why it's important, how sacred my body is, and so I just said, okay, here we go. I guess this is what girls have to go through. We have to go through this every single month, but okay. And so at that time, I would always have periods for 7 days, and it would be steady for 7 days, and I would have severe leg pain, and it would be so bad that I would have to walk really slow. I would be so sluggish. Sometimes I have to stay in bed for a long period of time, and I never really got any sympathy for it. I was just told, oh, this is what you go through as a girl, so suck it up and take some painkillers. Like, I didn't have enough knowledge about this. I mean, I'm only 11, 12, right? You expect the mother figures in the house to actually teach you these things, but they don't. So I grew up thinking that, you know, this is how it's supposed to be. Fast forward to my 20s. Again, it was ongoing, 7 days. I came across a Caucasian girl who told me that she only gets hers for 3 days. And I thought, oh my gosh, you must have some kind of health issue, right? This is what I was like saying to myself in my head. And I thought, how can she have it for 3 days? Is that even possible? Is that actually possible? And so, yeah, I went on like that. And it got to a point in my late 20s, I was really trying to lose weight, and I was taking it really seriously. And I cut back on a lot of like bad habit, bad food. And I was so strict, you know, because I really wanted to lose my belly fat. And when I went on that, you know, trying to lose belly fat journey or whatever, I realized that my period went from 7 days to 4 days. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this possible? Is this real? And I'm not running out of energy. I don't have any pain, nothing, you know? And so I thought, oh my gosh. And then, you know, I self-sabotaged like after 9 months. And after 9 months, when I stopped going strict on healthy eating and everything. Before I stopped going strict, God had told me that I should cut dairy out of my diet because dairy can cause breast cancer. I'm not here to prove to you how dairy can cause breast cancer. I don't have any statistics, but when my God tells me something, I believe him because he created me and he knows my body more than anyone else. So when he told me to cut the dairy out, I just thought, oh, okay, no milk, no cheese, like, because I'm not like a huge dairy fan. What I didn't realize was that cutting dairy out means cutting out the milk chocolate biscuit, cutting out the milk chocolate, cutting out anything that actually has cheese, milk, and butter and all this stuff. Like, so for me, I was still indulging. I was still having cakes. I was still, indulging here and there. Like, I wasn't obedient to the fullest. And then Starbucks came out with this lovely caramelized loaf cake, and it was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And I would have that once every single week. I was loyal to that cake. Okay, I was loyal to that cake. And then I came across Lola's cupcake because Lola's cupcake had vegan cupcakes that didn't have milk. Instead, it had soya. So I thought, okay, this is a good replacement. And I would have this consistently. And so I was expecting my period in this particular month, right? And it didn't show up at the time it was supposed to show up. So I thought, okay, maybe it's been delayed. So after 2 weeks, it was delayed for 2 weeks. Then it showed up as spotting on the first day. So, the first day, you don't really count it. You think, okay, this is, no, maybe, it'll pick up at a certain point. The second day, spotting. Third day, spotting. The sixth day, spotting. The seventh day, spotting. I'm thinking, what's going on here? And my legs was not in pain, but my legs felt so heavy. I could not understand, why does my leg feel so heavy than my whole body? But I thought, okay, maybe it's just due to these changes, and that was it. After the 7th day, when I thought, okay, this is done and over with, on the 10th day, that's when my period decides to just flow like the way it usually flows. And then that went on for another 7 days. So in total, I've been bleeding for like 14 days. And I'm here Googling and wondering what is going on. And I was telling my mom, like, what could go wrong? Like, my mom said, has anything changed in what you're eating? Or I'm like, no, nothing has really changed, So one day my mom was praying and God told her that I had hormonal imbalance. And so I started doing my research on hormonal imbalance. Different people had different things. And, I always listen to my favorite doctor, Dr. Berg. If you don't know Dr. Berg on YouTube, then I don't know. He's the famous doctor on YouTube. How do you not know Dr. Berg? So anyway, I was listening to Dr. Berg. And he was talking about hormonal imbalances, menstrual problems that women were having, but I just could not connect all this dots. So I just said, you know what, let this month rest. Maybe next month, everything will just go back to normal, right? And then after I was bleeding for 17 days, so it was spotting 7 days. Then the next 7 days, it was actual period for another 7 days. That's 14 days. After the 14th day, I was still spotting. Spotting was ongoing. And I'm thinking, what is this? Why am I going through this? And then I was doing my research on hormonal imbalances and how estrogen is so high and you need to reduce estrogen in the body and all the food that contains estrogen. But when people talk about all the foods that cause high estrogen, these were foods that I've been taking since I was a little girl. So why is it now that it's doing a whole bunch of nonsense in my body? So I didn't really have that desire to cut it off completely because I'm like, what am I going to eat? Like, when you're so used to eating this type of food for so long, either it's your cultural food or whatever food your parents taught, whatever food your parents gave you growing up, you stick to it, right? Because there's nothing wrong with it. Why would you change it? So as time goes on, it's now 3 months and I'm bleeding heavy. The next thing you know, I hear a No, I didn't hear it. I felt it. Blup. This was my face. Like, what's that? So I rushed to the toilet and I see a cloth, a blood cloth. And I'm there looking at it like, what is this? And how? And why? And I was scared. I'm like, is this fibroid? What is this? So I'm Googling, trying to figure out, has anyone else experienced this? Like anyone else? And so I'm on these apps where other girls are talking about blood clots that they're having. And one girl took a picture of hers and hers was huge. Hers was like the size of her palm. I'm like, whoa, like there's so many girls going through this. I'm not the only one. So I'm here like every time I'm eating, blood cloth. I'll feel that jelly. You feel it like a jelly, like bloop, drop out of you. So it was more than a coin size, but not too large, but more than a coin size, but not too small. I would have breakfast, I'll get a cloth. Dinner, get a cloth. And it wasn't just the cloth. When the cloth was about to arrive, like the one way I would know, I would feel excruciating pain on my left leg. The pain will be so severe. Like it would make me feel like I want to cut that leg off. And as soon as the pain would go, then it's plop, the cloth has dropped on my pad. This was so traumatizing that I would always be scared to go to the toilet because of how big these clots were. I could not wear any colored jeans. I could only wear black jeans because of how terrified I was if it was obvious that I'm bleeding. I had to go to the office. I had to go to work. Everything was so exhausting. Everything, turning on my laptop was exhausting. Getting up in the morning was exhausting. Exercising was exhausting. So anyway, I'm here trying to figure it out, trying to implement some healthy eating this, but things were not getting better. So I had booked this holiday to Santorini and I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go to Santorini and this is going to be a chilled holiday. Okay. So Santorini is one of those places you go to just to relax, just to chill, not to do much. Just, you know, it's more like a beach holiday. It's not really like those big, massive holidays, right? So I decided to go to Santorini on my own and stay there for 7 days. And it really fulfilled its purpose. What I didn't know was that journey and that holiday to Santorini is the beginning, the beginning of blood clots. Whatever it was that I experienced before I went to Santorini was nothing compared to what I experienced when I came back from Santorini. So when I was in Santorini, I didn't realize that 90% of their food was seafood and dairy. They're really big on dairy, really big on seafood. If I had done enough research, I would have canceled that holiday. But I just, you know, I didn't do enough research. So I went and I was trying my best to avoid the dairy, avoid the seafood, but then I would be left starving with nothing to eat. So I try as much as I can to not take so much of it. And that was when the blood clots were so heavy. They were big. These blood clots were big. Every time I felt a cloth, I had to rush to the toilet. I could not continue walking. Whatever it was that I was doing, the moment I felt that, blah, straight to the toilet. Because I knew if I did not go to that toilet, I could get 3 more clots at that moment. And that would mean I would need to change my pad again. And so I got so wounded in Santorini. I was so wounded. I had stomach bug. I was sick. My skin had changed. I got to a point I was so down mentally because I'm the type of person, I love to have energy. I love to feel good. I love to feel like I'm okay. And going through this, I felt so vulnerable. I felt so weak. I couldn't walk fast like the way I used to. I didn't feel alive. I didn't feel alive. And so I came back from Santorini. I was bloated. Not because I was eating a lot, because again, I couldn't even eat that much. I was so bloated because my lower belly was so inflamed. It was so inflamed. It was on fire. I came back from Santorini and I'm vomiting everywhere. My skin had changed due to, eating dairy. And then also the clots were big, bleeding every day, big, huge migraines. So I decided to go to the doctor because if you know me, I hate going to the doctors. I hate going to the hospital. I would rather cure myself, but I had to go this time. Their suggestion was that they would give me fake progesterone or we go and do some surgery. And I am not going to be doing any surgery. So I said, okay, let me take this fake progesterone, but I'm not going to use it, but I'm just going to take it and leave it somewhere in my house. When I did that, I knew at this point that I am anemic. When you are anemic, you don't need anyone to tell you that you're anemic before you know it. You will feel it in your body. You will feel so weak. You will feel like you're about to faint or you're about to die. When you are anemic, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's so, I don't know the right word to use, but all I know is you will know. Before the doctor tells you, you will know that you are low on iron. And when I felt this, I said, you know what? Let me take this fake progesterone tablet and let me start curing myself in this. In the midst of this, I am praying to God. But one thing about God is that when God has provided you with everything you need to heal yourself, which is fruit and veg and not medication, He expects you to use that to heal yourself and not expect some kind of one-time miracle, right? So I took the progesterone tablet and I said, I'm going to use this progesterone tablet to give me time to reset my diet and reset my whole body. Because when I looked at what endometriosis looks like in the reproductive system, I felt so bad for myself. I haven't felt bad for myself in a long time. Like I've never felt, how do I say this? Like it's easy for me to feel something for someone or to be emotional about somebody else's problem, but I hadn't felt that for myself in a long time. And it was at that point where I said, oh my God, I cannot believe that I did this to myself. The love of food got me to this point of endometriosis. How could I have done this to myself? And so when I was listening to a lot of Dr. Berg's videos and, doing all that kind of stuff and doing all my research on the human body, nutrition, diet, all that stuff, I knew it was time to really do some drastic, and I mean drastic changes, like 360 change on my diet, my lifestyle, everything for this endometriosis to go. So first of all, I started off with detoxing because when I came back from Santorini, I couldn't eat anything. Anything I ate, I would vomit. I would vomit, but I would still have those clots. So when people talk about detoxing, people talk about smoothies, green smoothie, adding all the greens, adding all the healthy stuff. No, for me, detoxing was cutting out a lot of things. So I had to first of all look at the carbohydrate family. I cut out the bread, I cut out the noodles, and I cut out the pasta, and I cut out the spaghetti, but I left the rice. The rice I'm still going to eat. The pasta, noodles, spaghetti, the bread, I cut it off. The reason why I cut it off is because pasta and noodles specifically is the worst. In the whole carbohydrate family, noodles is the worst. The quicker it is to cook that meal from a box, from a carton, from a pot, like it's worse for the body. Okay, so I cut that off, but I left rice because rice is not really man-made. It's not really man-made, right? So I left rice and I knew that I could still have rice, but at the moment I couldn't eat that. Then I looked at the dairy family. God has already told me to cut that off. That was just non-negotiable. I just cut it off. So that's cutting off the dairy chocolate, cutting off cakes, even soy. So here's another thing. I decided that, you know what, I wouldn't take the milks and the cheese. I would go for vegan cheese, go for soy milk, all that kind of stuff. Even the soy product, because the soy product actually trigger hormones, I had to cut that off. The soy products was also a problem. So there was no alternative. I just had to cut it off. Then I looked again because the blood clots at this point, it was reducing a little bit. So I knew I was on the right track, but I would still get them. But the amount, like before I would get like 7 clots in a day, it was cut down to like 5 clots in a day. Once I started cutting out stuff, the clots were, the size was starting to minimize a bit. The pain would minimize a bit. So I knew I was on the right track, but I was still bleeding every single day. So spotting every single day and getting the clots here and there is not the same thing, okay? So I was doing that, and then I decided, okay, let me get off the progesterone tablets now and see where I'm at. When I got off the tablet, oh my gosh, I still felt anemic. I was still bleeding every day, but the clots had reduced in size. So I said, okay, let me continue cutting off stuff. So I would cut out foods that were made in a jar, cut it out. I would cut out foods that were made in boxes. I would cut out foods that were made in like from powders, food that were in a powder form and you'd have to cook them to be food. I would cut them out. So from then, the clots started reducing, but I was still bleeding every day. And then I discovered that I had ovarian cyst and a fatty liver. So when you have endometriosis, you don't just have endometriosis. Like I said earlier on, when one part of the body is affected with something, it affects the whole part of the body because this body is a machine, it's a system. When one part is damaged, every other part is affected, including the eyes, the ears, the nose, the head, everywhere. And so on my road to healing, I didn't know that me trying to heal one part of my body is also affecting other part of your body. So if you have endometriosis, there's a high chance that you're going to have immune disease, a fatty liver, insulin resistance, ovarian cysts, and high estrogen. These are all bound to happen. There's not one person I haven't spoken to that don't have it. You will have one of them. And that's why it's so important to go on this healing journey. And so when I started doing that, I started seeing some progress. When I decided to get off the progesterone tablets, I noticed that I was still bleeding. So I said, okay, now I've cut out so many stuff. It's now time to add the good stuff that's going to help with the healing. God has given us so many fruit and veg, but not all fruit and veg would do the healing work. There's some specific fruit and veg that will do the healing, and then there's some that won't. So carrots don't do any healing work, but avocados will. Asparagus might not do healing work, but spinach will. Things like that. So I was being really intentional with the type of veg and with the type of fruit that I would bring on board. So it started off with detoxing, which was cutting out a lot of stuff, including going to restaurants that would serve processed foods, including that, because everything was giving me clots. Like I would go to McDonald's and ask for chicken nuggets, blood clots. Ice cream, blood clots. Like everything was just clots. It got to a point where going to the toilet was so traumatizing. I would feel the blop and I think, oh my God, I have to go to the toilet. I don't want to see it. And then there are times where the clot could be so big that I'm like this. And I have to be so strategic with how I sit in the toilet so the blood wouldn't stain the toilet seat and the floor. And then once you just open your legs, plop! Oh Oh my God. It's funny how I can laugh about this, but at the time, it was depressing. It was depressing to use the toilet. It was depressing to feel it. I would walk to the shops in clots. I'm on my way walking to the car, blop. The worst is when you sit down for so long and you think, okay, everything is good, everything is all right. And then you get up and then you feel that blop and you're on your way to the toilet. This is a terrible, terrible thing to go through as a woman. It's so terrible. It's such a huge hindrance that even exercising, it was at that point when I realized that being able to exercise and go to the gym is a privilege. You need energy to actually exercise and go to the gym. Because if you are anemic, how the hell are you supposed to exercise? How are you supposed to exercise? How are you supposed to have strength to exercise when you're constantly bleeding and having blood clots every hour? How can you do it? You can't. And it was at that point, I felt so bad for myself that the love of food got me to this position, that I shouldn't even be in this position. But the love of food got me here. And so on my way to healing this, I then discovered that so many women are actually going through this. I thought this was just like 1 out of 100. But no, there's so many women who are going through what I went through. And so many went to the doctors like I did. And they were told that we either do surgery or get you on some progesterone tablets. No solution whatsoever. No sympathy for the pain. Nothing. I mean, if men's penis were about to fall off every hour, I'm pretty sure some solution would pop up within 30 minutes. But as women, we get rejected all the time. And so one thing I said to myself was that once I'm able to get myself out of this position, I am going to make sure that I help other women get out of this position. Because one thing about me is I do not gatekeep things that could help you in life once it has helped me and I have seen the result. And so I created this document, an A4 document, because I know us women, we are living a busy life, especially if you're a single mom or you're a wife or you're a mom or you're a boss lady or you run a business. I created a document where I have listed the things that you need to eat in a week. Every single week in order to make sure that you heal from endometriosis. I don't do meal plans. I don't do that, okay? Because depending from where you're from and your culture and all that, people eat different types of things different ways. So I did not create a meal plan. I don't do meal plans. Sometimes I eat fresh food every single day, or sometimes I always change my mind last minute. That's just me. I like to spice it up. So this is not a meal plan. This is a document where you open it up and I tell you, you need to have this specific food in your diet within a week. Every week you need to make sure you eat this veg, that veg, and have this fruit, and that is it. Because when you are trying to heal from endometriosis, you're going to start looking at food as medicine and not pleasure and not something that you have a relationship with. I'm the kind of person that don't like medication. I don't like taking medicines. I don't like going to the doctor. I don't like going to the GP, and I don't like staying in hospitals. Okay. I don't know what it is. I just don't like these environments. I don't like medicine. Growing up, when my mom used to tell me to take painkillers when I have a headache or when I'm in pain, I would throw them in my backyard, and I would lie to her that I took them, but I didn't. I threw them in my neighbor's backyard. That's how much I hate medicine. Like, I always believe that the fruit and veg that God has given to us is enough to heal us. And so what I did while I was trying to heal from my endometriosis was that every week I would make sure that I would have this particular veg this week. Like, I could not go a week without taking this particular veg, because I knew that was one of the things that would heal my endometriosis. So for example, in this document, right, the document would tell you every week, make sure you have spinach. Why? Because spinach is going to help with the blood. Spinach is going to help with the inflammation. Spinach is one of the most powerful vegetable, right? But in that document, I'm not going to tell you how to eat the spinach or how to cook the spinach. You get to decide on how to do that. What matters is that you must have that spinach twice or 3 times a week, every single week, because spinach itself has a lot of healing properties in it. Okay. In that document, I'll also tell you, in a week, make sure you eat this. How you eat it, where you eat it, when you eat it is up to you. Just make sure in a week you have that in your body. One thing about me, every single week, I'm going to make sure that I take oranges. Why? Because if I don't take my oranges, my lips starts to dry, starts to split, starts to get chapped, starts to peel. So every week, whether I take it as a juice, organic orange, whether I press it myself, whatever it is, every week, I'm going to make sure I have my oranges in my body. Because now I'm looking at food as medicine and not just pleasure, not just something I take because I want to, but because my body needs it. When I started doing this, my endometriosis started to heal. It's funny how it's taken me, how many minutes is this video? Is it 30 minutes? This journey that I'm talking about with endometriosis was like 2.5 years. And now I'm at a place where I only bleed for 4 days. No blood clots, nothing. 4 days, that's it. This is from a girl who started off as 7 days to bleeding every single day to having 6-7 clots in a day. Now I'm down to 4 days. So this document that I have created is a simple, easy document. You just open it up and then you look for, okay, that's the list. All right, I'm going to get that, going to get that, going to get that. That's it. Once it's in your house, it has to be in your body, because whatever it is that's in your fridge will be in your body. And what will happen is I will leave my email address in the description below. Once you email me that you would like to have the document, which is healing from endometriosis, because once you're healing from this endometriosis, it will help you heal from ovarian cysts. It will help you heal from fibroids. It would stop that blood clot. It will stop that bleeding. It would also solve that fatty liver as well. Because like I said before, if you're having that endometriosis, you are going to have that fatty liver. You are going to have that immune disease. You will have that. And I will also tell you in that document what you need to cut out. One of the main ingredients you need to cut out ASAP is starch. Starch is just as bad as sugar. Is just as bad as sugar. Starch, rice flour, potato flour, any food that says rice flour, potato flour, starch, corn flour, you need to cut it off. Endometriosis means your reproductive system is consuming artificial food. That is what it means in a nutshell. The reason why it shows up for a lot of women, you are eating artificial food. Food that was not created by God. It was just man-made and it's toxic to the body. That is what it is. Potato starch, rice flour, corn flour, you need to cut it out. If you keep eating that, you will keep having these clots. Any ingredient, any food, and it's got those ingredients, you have to cut it out ASAP. The moment you cut that off, I promise you, you are going to see a huge difference. And the next period cycle, you won't feel as weak. You won't be in so much pain. Take it from me. This is what I like. It took me long to discover this, because a lot of people don't tell you this, because a lot of people don't know. I have seen girls go for surgery for this and it still comes back. They do so many things and it still comes back. This is not something that you do for 30 days and you stop. This is something you're going to do it for the rest of your life. That is why in the document, I did not create a meal plan, because you cannot stick to eating a particular thing in a particular way for the rest of your life. I don't do that. I don't know if anyone does that. But this document is something that you open and you just look at the list of food that I have given to you, and I tell you why you need to implement that in your diet. And then you just look at the list and say, okay, I need to buy this, and that's it. And you decide how you're going to eat it. You decide how you're going to cook it, and that's it. Every single week, you need to have those things. You need to have those vegetables in your diet. Every single week, you need to make sure you're eating them and you are on your road to healing. So that's it for this video. Hit the like button. I want to hear your own story. Comment below, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.